Good morning, everyone. My name is Cian Collins. I'm one of the chapter leads of the Northwest Cybersecurity Ireland chapter, based here in Northwest in Sligo. You're very welcome to this morning's event, which is around cybersecurity startups and scale-ups. So we're quite lucky to have two excellent speakers this morning, and I'm going to introduce them shortly. So first up, we're going to have Philip Close. Philip is the director of Secora Consulting, and he's going to give an overview of the cybersecurity company, which his company, which specialises in pen testing and incident responses for fintech and tech companies. So Philip is going to talk about his career to date. Next up, then we're going to have Marco Borza, who's the founder and CEO of Advantio, and he's going to share his story of Advantio's journey to date, and the impetus to set up the cybersec operation here in the northwest of Ireland. And following that, we're going to do a Q&A session with Kevin Buckley. Kevin is the cybersec specialist with Enterprise Ireland. We also have John McGarvey, who's a lecturer in Letterkenny IT, and Jillian Ruggiere, from the base Enterprise Northwest. This is our second event so far, and we had a great first event a while back, and we decided to have another one today. So I just want to make sure that everyone seems to be there now. So would like to welcome everybody to the call, and I would like to invite Philip up first if you want to kick off there, Philip.
Perfect. Thanks, Cian.
No problem.
So hi everyone. So I was asked to give a short talk about my story in starting up a cybersecurity company and how I got into the area. So I'll give you a bit of an overview of my company, how I got there, and where the company's going, I guess. So as Cian said, my name is Philip. I'm one of the founders of Secora Consulting, based in Donegal. It's myself and my business partner, Phil Graham, who set up Secora in 2018. There's two Phils, which always makes it really easy on calls, trying to remember a name. Basically, what Secora Consulting does is helps secure its clients from attacks. So each client has a different risk profile. So what we do is we discuss the risks, carry out assessments, and determine the likelihood and potential impact of a real world attack occurring. One of our service lines is penetration testing. For anyone who might not know what penetration testing is, we essentially try to break into or bypass a company's security. So as an example, a retail outlet might want to know if their tills can be stolen from. A bank might want to know if an attacker could steal money from customer accounts. Or a company might simply want to know if someone can physically break into their offices. So it all depends on what the business question is, I guess. We determine the likelihood of this attack happening and give advice on how to prevent such risks. So most of our clients have legal or regulatory requirements that require testing to be carried out. And because we're an independent third party, we provide that level of assurance that the correct steps in securing the business has been taken, and the reports that we provide can be used as evidence to shareholders, management, or auditors. So Secora started off an initial conversation in 2017. My business partner Phil and I were both working together on a client project in Dublin at the time. Around about that time, there was a large number of security companies that we noticed were being bought out. So over lunch, we got talking to each other about the people that we knew in those companies. And there was a lot of uncertainty about job security. I don't remember who asked the question first, but one of us asked if we'd consider starting a pen test company, as it'd be the ideal time with all the people that looking for jobs. At the time, it was more of a joke, but that was really the starting point. We both agreed that it was a good idea, but we're totally unsure at the time. Not long after that, the company we were working for ended up being bought out too. However, luckily there was no redundancies. What did happen though is the workload definitely increased. A while after, we were having a chat, possibly over a beer, talking about the crazy hours we were working at the time. I remember saying it was getting a bit ridiculous. Being that overutilized was really having a knock-on effect on the quality of service that we're delivering. We could certainly do this better for our clients if we're working for ourselves, said. And the benefit being we'd probably be earning more money. That was pretty much the deciding factor in starting Secora. We essentially wanted to deliver a better quality of service for our clients at a better cost. So Secora has a internal policy that only 75% of our time should be spent on client projects, and the remainder should be allocated to innovation and training. And this is just so that we don't get burnt out and we keep up to date with the latest attacks, so we can secure our clients properly. Bit about how I started, I guess, in security. I got started in security in my teens when hacking was really more about understanding how computer systems worked and trying to make them do things they weren't supposed to. It started pretty much with reading the Happy Hacker website. If anyone knows it. It's long dead and gone now, but that's what got me started. Happy Hacker website, if you didn't know it, it's essentially teaching how to make changes to computers to modify them. So there's a lot of registry changes and likes of that. And to make those changes, I ended up learning how to automate it, writing code. So I taught myself a bit of VB, C and C++, and then I ended up going, down the web route, learning HTML and JavaScript. But it was all purely out of curiosity and wanting to know a little bit more. I didn't actually start in IT. It wasn't until 2008, with the recession, that I found myself out of work. Manufacturing had just dropped, so I needed to do something different. I'd heard about the cybersecurity and digital forensics course in Letterkenny IT, and after reading the syllabus, I knew exactly that was what I wanted to do. So during my time in Letterkenny IT, I was talking to a lecturer who was teaching the ethical hacking module there, and we were talking about a capture the flag being held in Dublin. That lecturer is actually John, who's on the call. Went out of his way to bring a group of us up to Dublin to take part. We didn't do great that year, but it was probably the deciding factor in going down the penetration testing career path as opposed to the forensic side. Since then, I've actually done a little bit better in the CTFs. My highlight was last year. I got to bring my 11-year-old son to the same CTF, and we both ended up winning it. So that was great. After graduating Letterkenny IT, I ended up working for a multinational in Letterkenny as part of their web application security team. I learned a lot there, and I really enjoyed the technical element of hacking web applications, and also explaining to the business owners how an attacker could break into their website to take control. So from Letterkenny, after a few years, I was tempted to Dublin by the Dublin salaries and took a consultant position delivering penetration testing for a wide variety of clients across Ireland and Europe. I guess this is where I got most of my exposure to all kinds of businesses and technologies. Not able to talk about the clients due to non-disclosure agreements, but I can say that I've tested pretty much everything from mainframes, oil terminals, avionics, guidance systems, industrial printers, and physical buildings, as well as the usual like mobile, web app, IoT devices, firewalls, and carrying out phishing assessments. Then went on to start Secora. When we started Secora, it was just myself and my business partner, Phil Graham. Due to non-compete clauses in our old contracts, we weren't really able to reach out to a lot of Irish companies. So I ended up doing a lot of UK work for the first year. So as you can imagine, this really went well at home. Instead of going to Dublin, we're now spending weeks in London, but it wasn't all too bad. Most, if not all, the work came in by word of mouth and networking. In other words, going to the pub. In second year of business, we took on our first hire in a sales role. and that was just to grow the Irish client base. We really weren't sure how Brexit was going to play out, and to be honest, we still don't. So with the increase in sales, we needed to hire again. This time we took on a consultant to deliver pen test service. Just as we'd hired our first consultant, COVID lockdown kicked in, which meant sales dropped to virtually nothing. You couldn't get hold of the right people, and when you did, everyone was in crisis mode for a while there. However, those compliance requirements don't simply go away. So after a month or two, things began picking up again. I guess these days companies have really adjusted to remote working and sales have picked up again. So this time there's more of an emphasis on securing the remote workforce rather than just their internal IT systems. Plans for this year, I guess, we're planning on doubling our team this year. We're recruiting, so if you're looking to change and want to work in a remote first company that promotes a happy work-life balance, definitely come talk to us. Or if you're thinking of relocating, I highly recommend Donegal and Northwest in general. The rents here are cheaper and traffic is non-existent unless you get stuck behind sheep or something. For anyone else that's thinking of starting up, if you have a good service, clients really don't care if you are in Dublin or where you are these days. You've got a great pool of talent coming out of Letterkenny IT, and it's just a little bit more relaxed up here. If you're thinking of starting up, Donegal Local Enterprise Office is probably the first stop you should check out. It's great support. They've supported us so many ways, from training, guidance, financial supports. We couldn't praise them more. Once you get in contact with them, they provide a wealth of support. If you're in the Twin Town area, you might be looking for a place to work that has a good internet connection. I definitely recommend talking to the Base Enterprise Centre in Stranorlar. They've got a great community, and it might just be worth going in to talk to them. They offer a lot of benefits for startups. If anyone is thinking about starting and wants to have a chat, I'm free to have a chat. Please feel free to reach out. If there's anything you want to ask, please let me know. If anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. That's it for me.
Great, thanks, Philip. I'm delighted to hear that yourself and your lad won the Capture the Flag competition. That's brilliant. Yeah, thanks for sharing that story. And you're right, there are lots of opportunities in the Northwest right now, and Donegal is absolutely a good spot to be as well. Okay. I just left a note there in the Q&A session. So if anyone has a question for Philip or for Marco afterwards, just fill in your question and we'll put it in the Q&A session afterwards. Okay. All right. So next up is Marco Borza. Marco is my boss and manager, and Marco brought me into Advantio last year, thankfully, and it's been a great 6 months. And we're doing interesting things in Sligo at the moment, and Marco's going to talk about that. So yeah, Marco, you're up.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Can you just, Kian, can you let me know if you see me properly?
I can see you, I can hear you, yeah.
Excellent, excellent, perfect. Thank you very much. So, folks, my name is Marco. I'm the CEO of Advantio. Advantio was founded in 2010 in Dublin, and in essence, we help our clients increase their cybersecurity through a maturity model-based approach, and we do that with professional services, technologies, managed services. I mean, if you want to know more about Advantio, just go to our website. It's www.advantio.com. You'll find out. But in essence, we are a one-stop shop in terms of cybersecurity needs for enterprises, with a big heritage in the fintech industry. But today, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the reasons that a scale up like Advantio has decided to start, to actually move the core of its business, and investing into a new headquarter in the Northwest and in Sligo in particular. Today there's an opportunity, and this is what we went after. Technology enabled a much better work-life integration in the recent years. COVID has also accelerated the trend enormously. And I'm talking about work-life integration. I'll get back to that rather than work-life balance, because I believe this is what we should all be looking at, how to properly integrate our private life with our work life so that there is a continuum between the things, and it doesn't, it makes our lives easier. So we all know that the freelance economy is real. I mean, the trend of employing people to do their piece of the job into large companies had started in the early 2000s. And as I said, technology has really helped us, enabling everyone to be able to be productive because from remote, because it is not true. I mean, it's a little bit of a myth that used to be there, probably up to last year before COVID, that the productivity of people working remotely, it's lower than actually it is from people working in the same office. We find that it's quite the opposite. So when we started Advantio in 2010, we've been profoundly inspired by the work of two guys. These two guys, Jason Fried and David, I think you spell it Hansen, of 37 Signals. These guys used to build a tool called Basecamp. It was like just it's one of those Asana-like collaboration tools, one of the first ones. But these guys actually came up with an amazing book called Rework back in 2010. And then on a follow-up on the first book called Remote from 2013. And basically, they all go around one concept, that it is very unlikely that you find the right people for your business in the same 40 square miles from where you from where you live. So the challenge that they had, and consider these guys are American, of course, so they were probably, if I remember well, in the middle of the US somewhere. So they really had the same, that kind of challenge. Amazing experience from these guys, really a lot of inspiration. Consider that we started Advantio, and the three founders of Advantio don't live in the same city, not even in the same country. We probably see each other a couple of times a year, and that doesn't hinder our ability of being very productive. So, but before I get a little bit more into that, let me tell you a little bit of my story, because it's very much connected to the reasons why, when I started working with one of our colleagues who is, originally from Sligo, but we met in Dublin. He said, "Look, you need to come and have a look, because I think you will like what you will find." So my personal story is one of a young guy who decided to leave his hometown and his country to pursue his career goals at the age of 23. I'm sure that many of you guys here can relate to this, and consider, however, that I'm coming from the south of Italy in a city called Napoli. Napoli is at 3 million inhabitants, and even there, when I started working, I'm 40. I'm from 1980. When I was about 18, it was 1998. It was the beginning of cybersecurity. Back in the days, we'll probably call it IT security. And I started working as a researcher in Napoli, but I suddenly realized by the age of 21 or 22, if I can remember well, that there weren't many other opportunities for growth where I was living, because even though you would think 3 million people, blah blah blah, big city, I mean, Italy, the south of Italy especially, has never been and still isn't very technology oriented. Our industries are here completely different. You know, I mean, technology is not a big thing in the south of Italy. So think about this. The story that I'm telling you is the same story of many other countries, and especially regions like the northwest of Ireland, where there is amazing universities that spend budgets that is coming from local governments to form people that will end up making another region or even another country wealthier. Think about the countries like the UK or Switzerland, just to name two, because most of us from Italy usually go to Switzerland, and I mean, we've just heard the story about servicing UK clients and working for UK companies from Philip. I mean, we spend a lot of money locally to educate a workforce that will make somebody else richer. So the story of Northwest Ireland is the same story of the south of Italy. And then if you put in the mix that even when you have decided to go away and start working somewhere else than your hometown, you get older. And as you get older, your roots start calling you back where you grow up. I mean, we come from very, very similar backgrounds. I mean, that is what has really attracted me to the Northwest Ireland, because we have a culture that is very much about being proud of what's around us. Having a very strong sense of how do you say it? Sorry. Of course, you have you have guessed. I'm not a native speaker, but basically, it's a story of people that know that they belong to a place, and they're very proud about the place that they come from. So when we started building Advantio, inspired by the work of those two guys I've mentioned earlier, if you want the name of the books, I'll be very happy to put them afterwards in the chat, was to create, as I said earlier, a work-life integration for me first, and then for all of our people. So as Advantio, we've always been a dispersed company. As I said, 3 co-founders, they all live in different places, but that does not make us less able to perform. At the moment, we're probably about 65 to 70 people in the organization across, if I'm not mistaken, 7 countries and probably 13 cities. Technology has really enabled us to work very, very, very well in that setup. And that is the opportunity that I believe the Northwest Ireland has, because clients now in post-COVID, they don't expect you to be physically present to them. And this, in my opinion, is going to last. Now, it is true that proximity is power, especially when it comes to sales. You want to, have dinner with someone, you want to be close. But at the same time, people are learning what we've learned 10 years ago, that remote teams can be very productive and that work actually happens much faster. I mean, consider that we're even thinking of reducing our work time for the usual 40 hours to probably 36 or even 32, and leave more space to our people, because working from home, it's much more productive. And this is what our internal analysis say. Let me tell you just a few things, and I'm conscious I have probably another 5 minutes now. The first time I was in the Northwest, as I said, was in Sligo. It was probably 2015. And as I said earlier, what I've realized is the potentials in the region. Most of the elements I was telling you about Napoli could have been one-to-one matched with what I'd seen over in Sligo. Amazing education. I mean, IT Sligo and other schools, it's really, really a lot. A family-oriented culture, strong feeling of belonging, as I said, and then that perceived, because probably it's most of the time it's a perceived necessity of having to move out to go to larger cities or countries to build a career. Look, of course, I'm not saying it's easy to work remotely. It is easy to bring, to expand your career, to navigate your career through your hometown, especially if it's a place of 20,000 people and so on and so forth. But as I said, the opportunity now is amazing. Post-COVID, the freelancer economy is accelerating a lot. And look, I mean, the truth is, I have colleagues who play a key role in my team that I've never met face to face, and we're still very, very effective and very high performing organization. I mean, me and Kian, for example, have never met, but it's like it's gonna be funny when we meet the first time face to face, because of course we got to work together during COVID time, and of course nobody can travel, as unfortunately you guys know, but it's gonna get better. So look, just to close, I mean, in a nutshell, what I believe we can learn from the Advantio experience, and what everybody can learn from the Advantio experience and model, is that there is a new way of integrating work and private life, which aims to basically enable experienced professionals that have went to work in London or Dublin or anywhere else to go home, actually, and still be effectively still being effective into their jobs for larger organizations, as long as you have a webcam and a good connection, and that's all that you need. And then of course there's another big opportunity, which is the real challenge: developing the workers of tomorrow, the colleagues of tomorrow, that hopefully will see a different way, where they don't have to sacrifice their career to stay close to their work, to see their parents getting older, to take care of them when they are old, and so on. We really want, with Advantio and what we're doing in Sligo, we want to make sure that excellent people are put in the best position to be able to excel. Look, in just over 6 months, we've already employed 5 people. There's a few more coming. We have, I believe, 3 or 4 positions open. But our goal is to grow Advantio in Sligo to the point that we can look at our Sligo operations as our world headquarters. And we, in our growth ambition and in our plans, there's about 50 new hires in the next 24 months. So if Advantio, a relatively small company, can do that, imagine if we can attract more and more employers to help them see what I've seen. I mean, what kind of wealth and development we can bring into the Northwest, because of course I'm talking about Sligo, which is the place that I love and that I know. But of course, there's so many other places that are just an hour drive away, like where Philip is based and so on, that has amazing potentials, because at the end of the day, I mean, there's amazing people everywhere. And in the Northwest, what I found, it's that people are really, by culture and by education, the right fit for our organization. So I'm really looking forward, guys, to come back to the Northwest as soon as the travel that we can travel again. I mean, I live in a very chaotic place. I mean, if you've heard about Napoli, it's one of those places where people make joke about the chaos. Even for Italians, it's a chaotic place. And Sligo is one of my happy places, to be honest, where I can go, escape, focus on what matters, reconnect with myself. So look, guys, I'm really looking forward to meet all of you potentially face to face in the next few months. And that's it. That's our story. So thank you for listening. Hopefully it was interesting. If you want to know a little bit more about Advantio, about our career paths, or anything really if you're setting up something and you want to know how we tackle some challenges, I'm a firm believer into building a community of where entrepreneurs help each other, because the support network around you makes everybody better, makes everything better. So yeah, just feel free to reach out if you want to know more. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Marco. That was really good, and yeah, that was a great story. So thanks for sharing that. Yeah, there's lots of good things happening for sure. So some questions are starting to drip in, and we'll get into those in a minute. Yeah, so look, I want to take now a few minutes just to do a Q&A. So I want to invite Kevin Buckley. So Kevin is the cybersecurity specialist or lead for Enterprise Ireland. So Kevin, you're very welcome.
Morning,
from your
everybody.
pub in
Yes.
that looks like a nice pub in Camden Street there. Lovely.
Only people who ask nice, easy questions get a drink.
That's is that the long bar on Camden Street? Looks like it.
Long haul, yeah. Long haul.
Lovely.
My dream is to get back there.
Good man. Yeah, me too, for sure. We've John McGarvey from Letterkenny. John, do you want to jump on there?
Good morning, folks. How are we all doing?
Very good. And we have Jillian Ruggiere from the base enterprise operation. How are you, Jillian?
Hi, I'm good, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much for having me join with you in today.
Very good. Thanks for jumping on the call. Yeah. So listen, I hope the intro there from Philip and Marco kind of gave everyone a good sense of the opportunity and the growth for cybersecurity here in the Northwest. And I think what we're excited about, was particularly myself and Marco, is it is a huge opportunity, and we're here for a reason, and we're here for the long haul, and there's lots of good things happening. So look, what I'd love to start off with, and particularly maybe Kevin, you might start us off, is the theme today is scaling up and starting up for cybersecurity companies, and in your role in Enterprise Ireland, maybe just talk us a little bit about how you see the market right now in terms of opportunities for companies like Advantio, like Zecora. And what are the things that you see happening in this part of the world, or nationally in Ireland at the moment?
Yeah,
from your perspective.
Right. Well, for starters, I'm working in high potential startups in Enterprise Ireland, and I suppose the name says it all. We're looking for companies that have high potential to scale their business, and we kind of take up where the local enterprise offices leave off. So we're looking for companies that are going to have at least 10 employees within 3 years and €1 million turnover, and are internationally focused. And we're looking for that kind of innovation that the company's going to have, that's going to give them a sustainable competitive advantage in global markets.
Okay.
To answer your question about where things are going, everybody on this call realizes that this COVID has kind of driven people to be working remotely, and when you're doing that in terms of the cybersecurity space, you're bringing in a lot of potential for breaches of networks. And I know that's something that Enterprise Ireland, which is quite a paranoid organization in that regard, is viewing as a big threat to our organization. Right?
Sure,
and there's bad people out there. So there's that element of people's behaviors driving growth. Then there's the growth of data sets that are being created all the time, all this data being collected. And then there's the growth in the regulation around that data. GDPR is a model that is being rolled out around the world, and within the next 3 to 4 years, about 60% to 65% of the global population will live somewhere that has a GDPR-like regulatory environment. So there's huge risks for companies around there. So cybersecurity and the management of risk in this space is being driven to the board level, because that risk is an existential risk to many businesses. So that's kind of driving growth. This growth in technology is huge, and I think the industry is kind of playing catch up at the moment. So it's interesting to hear some of the speakers this morning, that they're working in a kind of, let's say, consultancy model. What we're seeing is people who want to take the consultancy model, commoditize that in the sense that they build an automated solution that's going to deliver that value to their customer. and then that's something that you can globalize.
Brilliant.
So that's what we're seeing at the moment. What we're dealing with is companies who come along. It could be a very early stage pre-seed investment companies. We have supports for that type of company, right through to seed investment rounds that we engage in together, usually with angel investors or the VC community, and then we can continue on investing in the companies as long as they are growing in global markets. Yeah. We're very active in the space. I'm not that long in it myself. I came from other parts of Enterprise Ireland, but I've been involved in this whole cyberspace for about the last 9 months, and I suppose through osmosis I'm learning a lot about it.
Yeah, and I guess that was another thing. Question I was going to ask is the cyberspace, like the fact that Enterprise Ireland now have a dedicated DA working with companies inside, like, you know, so are there a lot of companies coming into production now, I suppose, in cyber at the moment?
It's growing. It's growing.
Yeah.
It's growing, and we would do intensive due diligence around commercials, around technology, around the team, around the market opportunity, and the ones that are coming through at the moment I've got some very, very interesting technology that has the ability to be quite disruptive in the marketplace. It's a nascent technology, which is a great thing. Yeah, we have somebody in me who I work with the high potential startups. We have other colleagues who've been dealing with the cyberspace in Ireland across the entire portfolio of companies, the larger ones as well.
Yeah. And
then, of course, we have 32 offices around the globe. We have some cybersecurity specialists in those markets. And Enterprise Ireland just doesn't just do the kind of early stage and seed investment and other supports. It's not all about money. It's about market opportunity. I spent 15 years in the overseas markets with Enterprise Ireland, so an IDA. And it's about bringing people together with potential customers. That's hugely important as well.
And just before I let Jillian and John come in, someone just posted an interesting question there. A question for Kevin. You know, after hearing from Marco, are you seeing cyber companies setting up in the regions and keeping their IP there, or is there a trend towards startups going to larger urban areas? So, are you seeing kind of a lot of companies in the kind of northwest or southeast regions who are kind of starting out as 1-2-man bands and moving into, you know, the bigger cities, or because of what Marco just spoke about, they now with the technology and the ability to work remotely, do they need to do that anymore? You know, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the answer is no, but I don't suppose we have reached that critical mass with the startup company. But there is a kind of a group starting to grow around the Cork region. I mean, that's got something to do with the Cork Institute of Technology and the kind of specialization they put in and the courses they're putting on. But really, I mean, you know, the growth of the technology, and Marco, nailed it really. It enables people to work remotely in the space. I mean, as long as they have good broadband connectivity, they can do that. And it's about getting the best talent wherever they happen to.
Yeah. Okay. And that was another question someone asked about patchy broadband, but I think with the government announcement last week, which is they're going to do this kind of a study around. Actually, that's a good point to bring in Jillian. Actually, Jillian Ruggiere, maybe can you introduce yourself and let people know where you're based and what your input is into this space?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, Kian. So I am Jillian Ruggiere. I'm the community builder at the Base Enterprise Centre in Stranorlar, Donegal. And for those of you that are on the Zoom that might not be so familiar with the area, we're located in Donegal East in the twin towns of Ballybofey and Stranorlar, which is actually the third largest town centre in Donegal. So just to put it into perspective, we're 15 minutes from Letterkenny, 20 minutes from Strabane, and 40 from Derry, which provides a really large catchment area, making us situated in an ideal location from which to start and grow your business. So as you can tell from my accent, I'm not from any of the places that I've just mentioned, but I am an American who has recently moved back to Donegal. I met my fiance in New York, and he is part of the returning diaspora. So there's a lot of overriding themes going on here that I'm seeing. And as well, I have roots. I just want to mention, Marco, I'll be reaching out to you because my roots from Italy are from Napoli as well. I have Irish roots from me than Kevin, but that's a little bit about me and how I ended up here. So back to the base. So in addition to providing physical space in the form of our co-working space or unit rentals, we do provide a community for those that are looking to start up and scale up their business. Today we heard from Philip, who is one of our community members, and his experience in setting up Secora Consulting and how the base was key to his growth. And I just want to say that that goes both ways. Businesses like his are so valuable to the growth of the base as an enterprise center as well. So we have many other businesses with us there in our community that share his story. We found that those who are looking to start up are looking for the basic necessities, of course, a desk, like we mentioned, strong Wi-Fi and great coffee, but also they're seeking advice, support, and encouragement throughout their journey. So back to the question about, you know, having high-speed internet and why I'm here today. We have exciting news that we're launching a digital hub with the support of the Western Development Commission along with the Donegal County Council. We'll be opening this year. Now, we faced a few challenges due to lockdown, but the goal is to have it open hopefully by the end of this quarter. We're proud to say that we are going to be a gigabit hub, so we'll have very high-speed internet. We'll have all the works, phone booths, collaboration areas, but our vision is also to provide a place for digital and ICT businesses to grow with us, to network. And, you know, we heard from Marco as well how easy it is these days to work remotely, but we're trying to build a community where you might be working remotely, but you do like that office vibe and you like to connect with people, work alongside people who are working towards the same shared goals and visions as you are in your business. So that's a little bit about what the services we provide at the base. Now, I'd love to come back again and talk to you when we're a little closer to our launch date, because we'll have a lot of programs and trainings that are out there. I see some questions coming in here in the chat about, you know, where do I go if I'm trying to get my e-commerce website set up? All these questions we're going to be answering, and we're going to be a support to the community in Donegal and the wider area. So, what's the
best website? Have you guys got a website, or what's the best place to find out more information about your hub?
Yeah, I will drop our website in here and my email address as well. Everyone can be kept up to date there, and I would love it if anybody, we're looking, you know, to really target these digital and ICT businesses in the region. Okay. So if anybody has any contacts for us, anyone you know looking for support or space, we're here for you. So I see Leah, our manager, drop that in here in the chat right now. So that's where you can reach out to us.
Leah's on the ball there. Thanks, Leah.
Thanks, Leah.
Jillian, that's great. Thank you so much. Just want to bring in John. John, you know, you heard from Philip earlier. He dropped your name and said you were a great mentor, and you know you're obviously involved with the Northwest chapter as well, and you're a brilliant vocal support. I mean, John was on Radio na Gaeltacht today yesterday, even promoting this event, and a brilliant advocate for the Northwest. John, you know, listening to Kevin and Jillian and the other two speakers, from your position, you know, what are the things that you're, I suppose, seeing in terms of more students looking for these types of courses, and you know, more kind of early stage companies coming into the market? What's your kind of sense of it?
Well, CSDF's probably been one of the strongest courses we have in computing. We've 5, but it's been the strongest. It stayed the same. It has a decent, steady group of first years coming in. And what we can tell them, even before they come in, even open days and so on, is that there's a very good chance that you're going to get employment locally if you wish so. And the main sources were Optum, what's formerly Primerica, CETA, and then there was lots of other companies as well. What we were doing is we were developing, I suppose, a skill set and a mentality within our students that's kind of unique from other kind of computing students. And Philip talked about that, you know, and it does mean taking them to Capture the Flag events in Dublin, or doing that remotely. But again, cybersecurity is unique in that, well, it's not unique, but it requires a constant education process. You never stop learning about what are the latest threats, what are the latest vulnerabilities, because that's never going to stop changing. As software never stays static, and neither will the threats and vulnerabilities that exist for them. So what we try and instill in our students is that they need to be constantly learning what are the latest vulnerabilities and threats that exist, you know, and there's various different sources for that. I was just looking there now, there's a few questions there. One came in from Leah Fairman, and it was for Philip about the emerging areas of cybersecurity. He finds interesting. I'm just wondering if Philip would come in there and see if what does he think about those. And there's a question from Brian McGarvey about, which I thought was very relevant in the Northwest, where you have lots of SMEs, which maybe don't have a large budget for cybersecurity. They might have a certain budget for computing, IT, whatever, but perhaps what can we do to help increase their cybersecurity, their awareness of GDPR, as Kevin said? One thing that I find very easy to teach to cybersecurity students is GDPR. They get it straight away. Okay, GDPR itself is quite a cumbersome piece of kind of legislation to deal with, and its rollout of it wasn't the smoothest, but certainly it does benefit the individual at the end of the day. So I don't know if Philip's still there. So the question was, what emerging areas of cybersecurity do you find interesting? So maybe in the chat, maybe I know he has answered some of those. Hi, Philip.
Yeah, sorry, I was just dropped off for a second.
Yeah.
Emerging areas. The European Union's bringing out Digital Operational Resiliency Act. So once that comes into play, it'll be really interesting in the fintech space or financial industry, how that drives security testing. I'm interested in how that plays out and what sort of streams come out of that.
Right.
Linked up with Tiber NL recently, and they're anticipating a lot of work in the financial sector from the Act when it comes out. So that'll be interesting to see.
Okay, and quite often when these acts come in, like GDPR, there was over 50% of the Irish companies were not ready for it in May 2018, which is, it's difficult. It's difficult because it was a cumbersome piece of legislation and so on. But anyway.
And maybe John, maybe Marco, actually, could you come in on that as well, if you want to give your 2 cents on that as well?
Yes. Look, I believe it's all about making sure that the businesses get the best return on investment from their spending, because cybersecurity could be very expensive for many companies. And I think what cybersecurity companies aren't doing right at this stage is to make boards, entrepreneurs, business owners understand what is really needed for them to not be the low-hanging fruit and to protect themselves to the point that they can still perform their business in a competitive environment without making cybersecurity being a business stopper, but actually having it as a business enabler. That's why I'm a firm believer that cybersecurity maturity and cybersecurity maturity models are the right way to go. The US started with that, many years ago in the energy sector. Now it's a big thing. CMMI. We, as Advantio, we have our own, which is more targeted to our industry. But it's all about trying to understand what is worth doing and what is too much, and keeping it as simple as possible, but not simpler. That, I believe, is the message that resonates a lot with companies of every size. And then, of course, if you have to protect your pharmaceutical IP and you are a $1 billion company, you have huge budgets. But if you are a small 5 people, $1 million revenue company, you probably want to do the best you can with your IT spending nowadays. To me, it's a way of spending the budget wiser, and compliance should be a byproduct of security, not the other way around. But we're still not mature enough to see it this way, unfortunately. But that's where us as a community can make sure people understand. I mean, the concept of GDPR is very simple. I mean, you have data that doesn't belong to you, that if you lose is not a threat to you but to your clients, and you need to keep it safe. And in that, those regulations are doing very, very good to the industry.
If there's one thing that I would advise, I'm just going back to Brian McGarvey's question about micro enterprises and SMEs, and one thing that they can do to secure their business is trying to get across to every employee within the organization, big or small, is that your customer data is your most important is your most important asset when you talk about cybersecurity. There's no point in securing web application services, accounts, people, cyber training, all that. There's no point in doing all that if you don't get on board that for every employee that you have, that your customer data needs to be kept secure at all times. And once you have that, and that's your starting point, I think every small business will do a bit better. That would be my single one piece of advice for any business.
Thanks, John. Yeah, that's really good.
Okay.
Just looking at the time there, we have about 7 minutes left, but there's a few more questions popping in. Does anybody have, Marco, there was a question came in from Leah, actually. She's interested to know what you think the region should do to stand above the crowd and publicize itself as a place for people to start their digital businesses. And I think you touched on that when you mentioned about coming to Sligo and the reasons you wanted to set up here. But is there anything else you think, as a region, we could do to improve our standing?
Yes, I believe the key and the first I would say very important step is making sure that local people don't leave. The rest will come. So providing the right infrastructure, providing the right grants, providing them with the right support, creating a support, an entrepreneurial support network is what is needed, in my opinion. That is what makes a community better. And in that, I have to say, Enterprise Ireland is doing a good job now for many, many years to support entrepreneurs. Some of the people who start a new venture don't really know how much help they can get. The most immediate is, of course, better internet for everyone, even in remote areas. The very quick story is our financial controller is living just half an hour outside Sligo, and his connection is so terrible that I can never speak with him with the webcam on. This is a big problem.
Big problem, yeah. It's something we are trying to tackle at a national level, but I mean, we've had, everybody on this call knows the challenges that we're facing in terms of national broadband rollout, but it is getting better. I mean, see, like Jillian, the likes of, like if you imagine 10 years ago doing what you're doing now, where you are now, it would have been like a pipe dream, really. Now you've got gigabyte fiber broadband piped in there. It's an amazing story.
Just one other solution, Cian, there. I know in the west of Donegal, in Gweedore, that Udras na Gaeltacht, they have a GTech base there, and they have, I think they had the former Primerica company in there. They have 30 people working there every day, and it's just for people who don't have decent broadband at home. They travel 2 or 3 miles to the space. They get decent broadband access. They have a workspace. And again, it overcomes the challenges of bad broadband. I'd normally have about 25 people in my class teaching, and they're dotted all over Donegal, Sligo, some of them in the north and so on. None of them yet have failed to submit a piece of work or to attend class because of poor broadband. Now, I know their broadband isn't great, but even having, you don't need, the highest quality broadband sometimes to get work done. And there are other solutions like those bases that Jillian has and GTech.
Okay. So look, I think we're nearly out of time, so I'm going to start to wrap up. I want to start by thanking Philip Close and Marco Borza. Thank you both so much for your time today and for your contributions. Jillian and Kevin and John, equally, thank you so much as well for your input today. And thank you all for attending, everyone on the call, the attendees. I think Anna's going to run a short survey. She's going to throw it out to people there. If you can take just literally 2 minutes to fill in the survey now, that would be really, really good. Owen, thank you for setting this call up and helping us kind of keep this chapter going. If anyone is interested in joining or for updates, we'll post the link to the Northwest chapter here in the chat box. Paul, you might throw in the link there. And yeah, if anyone's interested, sign up and follow up. There'll be another event. We're going to try and run I think it is maybe 4 events a year. So there'll be another event in a couple of months' time with a new theme and new speakers, and we'll all continue to do our best in growing the cyber security network here in the Northwest. And yeah, it's a great, look, this is as chapters go, this is a great start. I mean, we're all delighted to see the input, and the conversations we've been having so far are really, really good. So that's it. So look, thank you everyone for your time today, and appreciate everyone's input, and we look forward to seeing you on the next call.